This is an urgent emergency alert. We have confirmed multiple cases across different towns, and every single one has followed the same chilling pattern. It begins in the most ordinary way, a dog barking at another dog during a walk. From that moment, a countdown begins. 3 hours later, something irreversible happens. 3 hours. No more. Stay with us as we reveal the truth behind this pattern, the force responsible, and the rules that may be the only way to delay what comes next. The first case involves a Labrador named Scout and a woman named Karen who walked him every evening in a quiet Portland neighborhood. Scout was a calm dog, family-loved and routine-driven. One night, as they passed a row of parked cars, another dog crossed the street with its owner. Scout froze and then erupted into high, frantic barking aimed only at that other dog. Karen and the owner exchanged embarrassed glances. The other dog seemed ordinary enough. Karen pulled Scout home, heart pounding, and the countdown began. For 2 hours, nothing obvious occurred. In the second hour, Scout grew restless, refusing dinner, pacing the hallway, snapping at shadows. By the end of the third hour, the tone had changed. Scout suddenly went limp, collapsed in the yard as if sleep claimed him mid-step. Karen found him minutes later, lifeless, eyes wide and fixed. There were no signs of conventional violence. No wounds, no blood, nothing a vet could explain. The neighbor's dog was seen the next morning walking the block with its owner, wagging as if nothing had happened, but other dogs would not go near it. Karen's grief turned into a warning she repeated to anyone who would listen. The barking started a 3-hour clock, and by the third hour, Scout was gone. That first case ends with death, and with a whispered, unnerving promise that this was not an accident. The second case is worse because it removes the possibility of explanation. In Ontario, a man named David walked his border collie Max at dusk past a small park. A golden lab sat near the playground, watching. Max began barking violently at that lab, hair raised, lungs burning for breath. The lab's owner shrugged and continued on. David thought he had a nervous dog and took Max home. The 3-hour countdown had begun. An hour in, Max would not settle, and in the second hour he scratched at windows, pressed to doors, whined toward the path where the lab had gone. By the start of the third hour, Max was frantic. David stepped away for a moment to call a neighbor for help. He returned by the time the clock hit 3 hours and found the yard empty and the leash shredded by the gate. No hole in the fence, no open door, no footprints leading away. Max had vanished as surely as if he had been taken from another world. David searched until dawn, filed reports, plastered town signs. No trace. The lab was still seen sometimes during daylight, playing in yards, greeting children. But the pattern repeated. Dogs barked at it, and 3 hours later another family faced absence. People assumed pets ran away, were stolen, or hit by traffic, but the precise interval, 3 hours from that first bark, proved otherwise. Max's disappearance left a permanent void and a question. What takes a dog cleanly away in the space of 3 hours while the rest of the street sleeps? The third case destroys the small comfort that a return might mean rescue. In a suburb of Manchester, a beagle named Bella barked wildly at a stray that nosed along the curb as a family walked home one evening. The stray was ragged, oddly still, and Bella's barking was frantic and focused, unlike any alarm she had ever sounded before. The family dragged Bella home and locked doors. 3 hours later, she was gone from her bed. Panic and searching followed, and just before dawn the children found Bella scratching at the back door, muddy and panting. Relief was immediate, but short-lived. Within hours, Bella's behavior changed. She would not come when called, she flinched from touch, and at night she stood near the parents' bedroom door and stared, unblinking at the ceiling. Her bark had altered, thin and high. She sounded as if struggling to make the same voice. Dogs in the neighborhood snarled or fled at her presence, as if recognizing an imposter. 3 hours after that first evening bark, she had vanished and returned. The 3-hour mark had completed the cycle and left something inside her that was not Bella's affection or play. The family refused to let her sleep in beds again. They kept their lights on and their doors locked, but the change had settled. Bella returned in body but not in soul. and the family knew with dread that the thing wearing vellum might mark them next. 3 clear patterns. A dog barks at another, 3 hours pass, and the result is always one of 3 things: sudden unexplained death, disappearance without trace, or a return that is not a true return. That is the law of this phenomenon. It repeats with cruel regularity across towns in the US, the UK, and Canada. The interval is fixed. The barking sets the clock. When it starts, the 3 hours begin. So what is behind it? Witness reports, neighborhood videos, and the same animal behavior indicators point to a single conclusion. Something moves among dogs, wearing their shape by day and revealing a monstrous anatomy at the wrong hour. We call it the Hound-Taken. By sunlight, it looks like any other dog on the block. Same gait, same wag, same normality. By or within the 3-hour moment, its mask slips. Observers describe skin hanging loose like wet hide, a jaw that splits wider than an animal's should, rows of misaligned, broken teeth, legs bent in impossible joints, and eyes that seem too human and too knowing. Other dogs perceive that wrongness at once. Their bark is not aggression, it is recognition. Their warning is the only alarm most humans ever get. The Hound-Taken does not act randomly. It follows a rule. When its disguise is pierced and detected by another dog, the 3-hour process begins. In that window, it will either consume, take, or remake. If the animal dies, it often appears as if life just stopped. If it is taken, there are no traces. If it returns hollowed and changed. That is the cycle. That is why your dog's frantic barking matters. It is not performance. It is a countdown. If your dog barks fixatedly at something unseen, act fast. Remove your dog without confrontation. Keep it in sight. Secure your home. Lock doors, windows, close curtains, and keep a light on. Don't silence the barking. Let your dog alert you. Stay with your dog. Look for pacing, refusal to eat, or intense staring. If your dog disappears, don't chase. Document the time and alert neighbors. Once the 3 hours pass, interacting with a returned dog may speed its transformation. Distancing yourself during this window has, in rare cases, delayed the change long enough for survival. These patterns are real, not myths. Every night, across neighborhoods, dogs bark at things we can't see, and that bark marks the start of a 3-hour countdown. If your dog warns you, act. Watch the clock. Guard your pet. Don't ignore the bark, because when the 3 hours end, what returns may not be the same.